Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Spirit of Texas Author Spotlight. I'm Lauren Scott, Chair of the Spirit of Texas Reading List Committee. In this episode, we are excited to welcome Spirit of Texas 2023 honoree Amy Tintera, author of The Queue. Your host for this interview is Spot Committee member Karen Story. Karen is a graduate of Texas A&M University and completed her Master's of Library Science from Texas Woman's University. She has been in education for over 15 years and a librarian for 10 years. She currently serves as the librarian at Flower Mound High School, a 6A school outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She is in her third year on the Spot Committee, and she has 3 college-age kids, a husband, and 3 ridiculous dogs. All right, Karen, take it away.
All righty. Well, welcome. We are so glad you could join us today. We're going to be super easy and chill and just have fun with this. First, I'd like to introduce Amy Tintera. Amy Tintera is the New York Times bestselling author of thrilling novels for readers of all ages. Her books include the Reboot and Ruin series and All These Monsters, a Yosef Best Fiction for Young Adults selection. Her novels have been translated into 16 languages and sold into more than 20 territories. She earned degrees in journalism and film and worked in Hollywood before becoming an author. Raised in Austin, Texas, she frequently sets her novels in the Lone Star State. But she now lives in Los Angeles, where there's far less humidity. Oh, goodness, I wish I was there, but not nearly enough Tex-Mex. Okay, Amy, we'll get started with the first question. What inspired you to write The Queue, and what role did COVID play in writing the book?
It's really funny. I got the idea for The Queue in 2019. So before I had ever heard of COVID, even before there was any news out of China about it. And I thought it would be so fun to write this book about this guy who got dropped into a sort of zone that he had to escape within a certain amount of time. I thought that'd be so fun. And so I decided to do a virus. And I had just a little bit of the book. I had a few chapters done by March of 2020. And so I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't keep writing this virus book. Now it's a little close to home. But I was really excited about the idea. My agent at the time was really excited about the book, and she thought it was great. And she thought it would be kind of interesting, to have a sort of timely, I guess, a virus book right after we had sort of gone through it ourselves. Luckily, we did not go through it quite as terribly as the people in the queue did. we had it a little bit easier. So yeah, I had the idea in 2019. And then I think COVID actually helped me understand viruses a little bit better because I was reading about them all the time, reading news constantly. So I think it did help with the science a little bit. And it definitely made the book a little bit more lighthearted. Like after COVID, I thought I really would like for this book to be kind of fun, a feel-good adventure, and I'd sort of like the virus to be very much in the background and not to be a main concern for the characters, since it was sort of a main concern in my life at the time.
Right. Yeah, it was very action-packed and full of adventure.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, are there any particular scenes or moments in The Queue that were especially challenging or rewarding to write?
Well, so the very end, which I won't go into detail, because spoilers, but especially with Lennon's journey and how Lennon's journey ends, is one of the first things that I knew about the book and sort of why I wanted to write it. And so that was one of the most rewarding, was getting to that very end and to the end of Lennon's journey. It was just a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite characters I've ever written, actually. And I think he and Maisie they have a really great vibe together, the two of them. Mm-hmm. Gosh, in terms of challenging, I always find action scenes challenging, which is really funny because the book is full of them. I just decided to torture myself a little bit with lots of action scenes, just sort of the case for all of my YA books, lots of action. There's a scene, especially in a warehouse, in the second half of the book, that was probably the most challenging for me because it's a huge cast of characters. There's a bunch of people coming in. There's all these sorts of things going on, people getting injured, and just keeping track of all of that was really difficult. But those sort of scenes are also, they make the book fun as well. So it's worth it.
So what does your writing process look like? I know some authors they have the whole outline done ahead of time and some just sit down and just write. So which method do you kind of lean toward?
I lean much more towards just writing.
Okay.
I figure out some things, like this one I said I had the ending. I knew the ending I was striving for, which makes things a little bit easier, I think. I usually will try to know the middle as well. Sometimes that helps. So I might know like 2 or 3 things and I just go in and I write, and the first draft is just sort of figuring everything out. And I think it's more fun that way to just discover it. And then I will outline for the first time after I finish the first draft or when it's almost done. And then I really start to put the pieces together so that it makes like a book that makes sense.
Okay, because as an educator, I see students a lot of times they struggle with getting their words on the page. They want them to be perfect. So that's always good to hear about the rough draft and how, it's a rough draft. It's not going to be perfect and you're going to go back and forth with it. So
very rough. Sometimes I call it I don't even call it a first draft. I call it a 0 draft because it's not even good enough to be a first draft yet. Discovery draft.
That makes better sense. I kind of like that much better. Okay, my next question was going to ask about Lennon and Maisie and which one was your favorite character, and you already answered that. So what was it that made you like Lennon so much?
I think it's that sort of fish out of water thing. I think I really enjoy books like that and characters like that. He's very much out of his element, and I love Maisie, but she's she knows what she's doing. She spent her whole life in the queue and she's ready to go. But Lennon, he's learning everything sort of on the fly, and he sort of has to reimagine his whole worldview sort of. And he has to realize that maybe the things that he thought about the queue and the people in it are not quite right. And that's just really fun to write as a writer, to have a character go through that sort of journey.
Right. And Maisie, I loved her because she was such a strong, independent, fearless main character. So what was it like writing for her?
It was lots of fun. It was especially fun, I think, to write her friendship with Hadley. I really like to write girls being friends, and when she meets Val, it's sort of like having that woman who's an older mentor sort of thing. That was a lot of fun. But it's also fun to write someone who's sort of realizing her power and her responsibility and taking charge, because sometimes I'm definitely the sort of person who wants to step back and make sure I'm totally and completely prepared before I do anything, before I take a leadership role. Maybe I shouldn't get too crazy about something or other. And with Maisie, it was just a lot of fun to watch her sort of realize, I can do this, I can lead, I can get the guy and lead at the same time, sort of thing,
Very inspirational for
right.
our young ladies today. Right. Next question. We talked a little bit about the ending and don't want to give away any spoilers. I was really surprised at the ending. Where do you see Maisie and Lennon in the future? And how do you envision the Q zone in 10 years from now, from the setting of the story?
I would hope that it's gone, honestly. I would hope that they finally made it out and back into society, because it sounds, like the part of the book is the vaccine starting to come about finally, and so you're hoping that things sort of continue along that path. And I think I continue to see Maisie and Lennon sort of stepping up, and the younger generation sort of taking charge a little bit, because I think that's what they did. I think in the queue, the older generation had almost given up, this is our life, this is what we're doing, we're staying here, we're dying here. And I think it was the younger generation a little bit that was no, let's make things better. We can do better than this. And so I think they would continue to do that, and maybe hopefully help with the transition out into the real world, the whole world.
Very timely to what's going on today. So it's great to have those characters and that vision there. Okay, will there be a book 2, or is that it for it?
So it ended up being a standalone. For a
Okay.
while, I had considered maybe doing a spinoff with Hadley, but like I said, the ending was the first thing that I ever knew about the book, and I do really love that ending. So we ended up just
Yeah.
deciding to leave it as the standalone.
It's a great ending. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I was very surprised and I was like, oh. So would you rather live inside the queue or outside the queue?
Oh goodness.
Oh,
I feel like logically you should say outside, but I do think there would be some, adventure inside inside the queue too. It would be really interesting to see how a whole society, comes about when they're just kind of left to their own devices for a few decades.
right.
Really interesting.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
a lot more interesting than, yeah, I have to agree with you there. Okay, so you have an upcoming book coming out, and I want to hear more about it. It is Listen for the Lie, and I hear it's an adult novel, which I'm super excited about for you to go that way. So tell us a little more about it.
Oh, sure. Listen for the Lie is a mystery thriller type book, like sort of like Leon Moriarty's Big Little Lies, sort of in that sort of vein of mysteries. And it is about a woman named Lucy whose best friend was murdered 5 years ago. And everyone in her small Texas hometown thinks that she committed this murder, and she is forced to return to her hometown for the first time when a true crime podcaster takes up the case. And she has to figure out if she actually did it or not, because she does not have a memory of the night.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. It's March 2024. Is that correct on the release date?
Yeah, March 5th, 2024. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to get that as soon as I can.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe I'll get a sneak preview. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
So many of your books take place in Texas, and tell us about that. And I know now that you're living in Los Angeles, do you plan on keeping the little Texas connections in there, or do you see yourself kind of venturing away, like, okay, at Texas, I'm done? Yeah.
I think I'm always really inspired to write about Texas. Even though I'm not currently living there. I was living there until 2021. So I've sort of been back and forth. But my next book that I've started is set in Texas again. I just find Texas really interesting. I think it has its own sort of very distinct culture. And it's where I grew up also. So I guess I'm always going to find it interesting. But I think something that's sort of unique to Texas is how different it is depending on where you go. Very different vibe in Dallas or El Paso or Austin or the small towns surrounding all those places. And so I just think there's a lot to explore with Texas. I enjoy it.
Yeah. And you mentioned about Tex-Mex food. What Tex-Mex restaurant do you miss the most?
Always Chewy's, because I'm
Chewy's.
from Austin. Yeah, because Chewy's was started in Austin, and when I was a kid, I think there was only one, maybe two, and it was just a little like local Austin place. And now they're everywhere. But Chewy's always has my heart.
Oh, that jalapeno ranch dip. I can just like eat it with a spoon.
So true.
Okay, so I'm back to the novels. I better get off Tex-Mex because okay, so your novel Listen for a Lie is an adult novel. Do you plan on continuing on writing more adult novels, or do you see yourself going kind of back and forth between YA and adult? Or
for now I'm doing just adult, because I did just YA for quite a while. Since 2013 I did four different series with 8 books, and I think that was kind of a nice way to do it, to sort of focus on one thing for a while. So I'll be doing adult for at least the next few novels, but yeah, who knows in the future if there will be more YA after a little while.
Maybe, you never know. Well, that answered that question. Do you have any other projects that you're working on that you can share with us, or?
I don't, because I'm in a very early stage still with my next adult mystery. But like I said, it is set in Texas, so I have that. My the Listen for the Lie is very focused on like family, and there's like this really amazing grandmother in that book. She's really she's funny, she's one of the main characters. And so I will say that I am hoping to do more of that in my next adult mysteries, to have sort of fun family dynamics, also complicated family dynamics, but fun as well. Lots of like quirky like aunts and uncles and all of that. That's something that I mean, that I personally grew up with and that I enjoy writing, you know.
Yeah, well, I think it hits a lot home for a lot of us. So, who are some of the authors you draw inspiration from?
So it's in my YA career, I always really loved Marie Lu's books. Legend, her very first one, was one of my favorite YA books, like when I first started getting into YA back then. And Veronica Roth, of course, Divergent and Hunger Games, those were like big inspirations for me in YA. And then now with the adult mysteries, that Leon Moriarty was a really big influence on me. I really loved Big Little Lies. Both the book and the show, actually, I thought were both really great in different ways. And also, well, Stephen King, of course. Everyone grows up. Stephen King was a big influence on me as well. And Gillian Flynn, of course, with Gone Girl and Sharp Objects and all of those. I really like the sort of women-driven mysteries. It's definitely what I'm into right now.
Very popular right now. I have lots of young ladies that come in asking for those authors, but being in a high school, I'm like, oh, they're too adult. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, go to the public library.
Right. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us, or tell us about, or anything you think we missed, or you're like, oh my gosh, I wanted to share such and such?
I don't know. I don't think so. We covered a lot of stuff. I tend to not like, I guess, what's the word? I tend to be pretty fast in my answers when I answer these things. So I don't know if I have anything else exactly. I don't know.
So what year did you graduate from Texas A&M University?
2005. Yeah, 2005.
Okay, I was 94, so I'm like, oh, you're a baby. Okay,
we missed each other.
Okay, well, I guess that answers that. You've answered all the questions that I had, and unless you have anything else for us, Lauren, we will throw it on back to you.
Okay, well, I actually, as I was listening to your conversation, a question popped into my head that I'm curious about, because of your background in film and Hollywood and being in the LA scene. If the Q were to get optioned as a movie or a TV show or a series, who would you cast as those characters? I'm just curious.
So I don't know if I have anyone. I feel like I don't know the younger the younger actors very well anymore. No, I don't know if I have anyone really, except maybe Jenny Ortega for Maisie. That was one that always pops into my head because she was great in Wednesday and in many other things. But I don't know if I have anyone for Lennon.
I love that. I could totally see Jenna Ortega as Maisie. That makes so much sense and like fits perfectly. I love that.
It does.
I love that so much. A question that I saw that had been submitted by readers was, one of the questions was, how did it feel the first time you saw one of your books published? Like the first time you went in a bookstore and you saw your book on the shelf, what was that feeling like?
I mean, it was pretty amazing. Yeah, it was incredible. I was with a few other authors actually, because we were out on a tour, which was very cool. And so I can't remember which state we were in, but it was the first time I went to a Barnes and Noble and it was there. Yeah, it was really exciting. It's the the dream, right? Since I was a kid, because I started writing novels when I was really young. So I was really excited.
Do you ever go into a bookstore and do you sneak in and sign your books?
I've never signed them without like under the radar. Like I've always asked to sign them, but I do sometimes go in and just like Like if I'm looking in another section, I go over to YA just to like see if my books are there and like wave to them.
Hi, guys. Oh, I love that. Well, this has been such a fun conversation, and I really enjoyed listening to the two of you, and all those questions started popping up in my head, especially with your book being such an adventurous book and one that I could totally see being a movie or a mini series or something like that, because it is so full of action and adventure. So thank you for answering those off the wall, on the fly questions for us.
No problem. Happy to.
But we're going to close it out today by thanking everyone for joining us for our Spirit of Texas Author Spotlight with Amy Tintera. Be sure to check out our Spirit of Texas website for book club activities, read-alikes, and more for the queue and all of our 2023 Spirit of Texas books and authors. Stay tuned for our next episode coming soon to the Texas Library Association's Young Adult Roundtable YouTube channel and to our Spirit of Texas website. And just thank you again, Amy, for our time together. Thank you, Karen, for your wonderful questions. And it was fabulous. Thank you so much, ladies.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fun.